So in this video, we are going to take notes about writing linear equations. So this would be 2.4a. So if you want to get out a sheet of paper, right at the top, your name and 2.4a, writing linear equations, I would appreciate that, okay? Now there are some equations that you definitely have to need to memorize. The first is our slope-intercept form of an equation, which is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope of our linear equation, and b is our y-intercept, which I like to think of the point 0b. And then you also need to remember that vertical lines are always of the form x equals a number, and that horizontal lines will always be y equals a number. Excuse me. Now, in this first example, we are just finding the slope and the y-intercept of each line. So if we think about our first one here, our coefficient on our x is 2. The number hanging out here by itself is 3. And so if we compare that with y equals mx plus b, put that in a little box here, you can see the m is 2 and the b is 3. So all you got to do is tell me that the slope is 2 and the y-intercept. Now here's where I want you to give me the point 0, 3. Okay. So let's do the next one. Now the next one's a little trickier, not much, but because some things are hiding. So y equals negative x, you would want to think about that as y equals negative 1x plus 0. So then you can clearly see that our slope is negative 1 and our y-intercept is 0. So let's pull those values out. So m is negative 1, b is 0. So then let's write it out. So the slope is negative 1. The y-intercept I want as that point. It is the point 0, 0. So this point goes through, or this graph goes through the origin and has a slope of negative 1. Let's look at C. Now C isn't in the right form. We want it to be y equals everything else. So let's isolate this y. Let's move this to the other side. Okay? So if we do that, we get y equals, now we would need to subtract 2x from both sides, but I want that to come first. So y equals negative 2x plus 4. And now that it is in the order that we think of when we think of our good old y equals mx plus b, now let's pull those things out. So our slope is negative 2. Our y-intercept is 4. So let's write that m equals negative 2, b equals 4, and then let's write the words. Slope is negative 2. Y-intercept is the point 0, 4. Sorry, that looks so bad. Let's try again. Okay, there we go. Now, D and E are a little different from what we talked about earlier. E is vertical. D is horizontal. Now let's talk about, well, how do we deal with that? What do we do? Well, the horizontal one we can deal with a lot easier than we can the vertical. So let's start with D. You can rewrite this as y equals 0x plus 3, right? See how we don't see an x. But then you can clearly see that our slope is 0 and our y-intercept is 3. So m is 0, our y-intercept is 3. Let's write out the words. The slope is 0, and our y-intercept is the point 0, 3. Now if we think about that line, it makes sense that it is a horizontal line at y equals 3, that our y-intercept is 3, okay? Now, we don't have an x-intercept for that, but we do have a y-intercept, okay? Now, here's the problem with the last one, a vertical line. If we put the y in there, if we write it as x plus 0y equals -1, if we try to isolate that y, we get that we have to try to divide by 0. I'm sorry, let me write that a little nicer so you can see it. And I'll scooch in a little bit. If you try to divide by 0, it ain't gonna work. It doesn't work. It's undefined. So this, you have to memorize, has an undefined slope and no y-intercept. Now, the only way it will have a y-intercept is if it's x equals 0, which is just the y-axis itself. That's the only one that has a y-intercept. Its y-intercept would be the point 0, 0. So vertical lines are weird. Their slopes are undefined because you have to try to divide by 0. And so they just don't work. If you were to graph that, it is a vertical line over at -1. And so I think, my math bug, he doesn't have like spidey stickiness. So he falls off the line if he tries to walk on it, if that helps. I don't know. But vertical lines have undefined slopes. We can't do the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 without actually getting a 0 denominator. And so it's just weird. Okay. Now let's go and look at example 2. It says, find the equation of each. Now, for a line like A and B, this is a positive slope. It's going uphill from left to right. This is a negative slope. It's going downhill from left to right. So the first thing you want to do for A is ask yourself, what is the slope? That's not slope. What is the slope? Let's just leave it blank. What is the slope? What is the y-intercept? Okay, so let's look. Does it hit the y-axis at a good spot? It sure does, -4. It goes through the point 0, -4. Now let's count out the slope. If we make a little triangle, a rise over run triangle, where we start at a point that's good to get to the next point that's good, we have to rise 2 and run 1. Now, if we've picked it right, it should do that everywhere. Rise 2 to get to the next point, run 1. Rise 2, run 1. It's a positive sloping line. By just looking at it, we know it's rising from left to right. It's going uphill. If my math bug is walking to the right, he's going uphill, okay? And so it's a 2 over 1. We know it's positive, so it is a slope of 2. Once you know those two items, you have a template now. You can just put your slope in as M, your y-intercept is B, plop them in, we're done. And so it's y equals 2x plus -4. Now, we don't usually write plus -4, so you can do y equals 2x minus 4, okay? And then you could go to Desmos. You could type in y equals 2x minus 4. Does it match the line we see there? Does it hit the same points? Okay. Now let's do B. It is a slope that is going downhill from left to right. First, let's find our y-intercept. Our y-intercept is the point 0, 2, so B is, let's put it over here, B is 2. Okay. Now, what's our slope? Well, our slope, we go down 1 over 1 to get it to a nice point. Down 1 to the right 1, get to a nice point. Down 1 to the right 1. Now, down is negative, right is positive. A negative over a positive is indeed a negative. So our slope, we go down 1, right 1. So our slope is -1. Now, once you know those items, again, you just plop it into the y equals mx plus b. We're going to put our -1 in front of our x, which you can just write as -x. We're going to put our 2 add to the end. So our equation would be y equals negative x. If you wrote negative 1x, go for it. Doesn't hurt my feelings or anybody else's, plus 2. Okay? So sloping lines, where does it hit the y-axis? That's your y-intercept. That's your b. And then count. If I need to go from 2 nice points, how do I get there? If I have to follow a triangular path, I have to go up or down first, and then left or right. Up or down, left or right. And there you go, okay? Now, just like D and E from above, we have a vertical and a horizontal line here, okay? So this is horizontal. It's always y equals a number. This is vertical. It's always x equals a number, okay? So you just have to ask yourself, what's the number? Well, what y am I at? That is the point 0, 2. My y is at 2. Over here, my y is at 2. Over here, my y is at 2. Y is at 2. X, it can be whatever the heck it wants to be, okay? Let's go over here. What is my x value? Well, that is the point negative 1, 0. This is the point negative 1, 1. This is the point negative 1, 2. This is the point negative 1, negative 1. So what x value am I always stuck at? I am stuck at an x value of negative 1. So it's really great to find an equation of a horizontal or vertical line. It's just, you got to remember, is it my y is stuck somewhere or is my x stuck somewhere? Horizontal line, it's y equals a number. Vertical line is x equals a number. Okay. And then we have 2 more examples to go. Let's look at example 3. It says find the equation and graph it. Okay, so it says find the equation of the line with slope of 6 and y-intercept of 4. Now, we know y equals mx plus b is m is slope, b is our y-intercept. So they've just told us that our slope is 6 and our y-intercept is the point 0, 4. Okay, so they've told us everything we need to find the equation. Our equation is y equals 6x plus 4. So how do you graph it? Make yourself a little grid. Grab some graph paper from the table if you want to. You're going to start at the point 0, 4. That should be your starting point. When I pointed out these graphs above it, what was I doing? I was always, where do we start? Where do we hit the y-axis? At the point 0, 4. And if our slope is 6, I need to build that triangle to find the next point. I'm going to go up 6 to the right 1. Okay, so I'm going to count up 6 to the right 1. Now, that is very much at the tippy-top high of my graph paper. 2 negatives make a positive. That's why I could always also count down 6 and over 1. You see that does line up. And then I'm going to make my line. I'm going to really stretch it across my graph paper because a line is endless, keeps going. And then I'm going to put arrows on the end to say, hey, that keeps going on and on and on forever and ever and ever. Okay? So that is how you find the equation. Here's your equation and the graph of a piece of information that they have told us the slope and the y-intercept. Now, if they say find the equation of a vertical line through the point 2,5 and then graph it, remember a vertical line you just have to memorize is x equals a number. So our x value is 2. So if we are going through the point 2,5 and we are vertical, our x gets stuck at 2. Now what if we wanted a horizontal line through 2,5? Well, if we want a horizontal line through 2,5, remember that's y equals a number. We would use the y value. It would be the y value of 5. So you just got to memorize that a vertical line is x equals a number and a horizontal line is y equals a number, okay? So your job for the remainder of class is to complete what you see here, okay? We've got some where we are just pulling out the slope and the y-intercept and then graphing them. Here is writing the equation and then graphing them. And these are just finding the equation, okay? Please make sure you're putting these on graph paper. Write hard enough that I can see it on the graph paper so that it's dark enough when you take that picture. And then if you have questions next time you see me, we'll go over those. Thank you so much for watching. Have an awesome day.